this diary, one sees, how the mother in the lower nature is praying to the mother in the higher nature. And in that sense, this diary is the ideal diary for a seeker. Now, you and I, we are not divine avatars. We are divine in our essence, who are yearning to be divine in our embodiment. So these prayers are ideal for seekers like you and I, because it's the Divine Mother herself who comes down and makes that sacrifice to help her children understand what does it mean to truly pray. So one thing that I find in these prayers is like an all-consuming prayer. These are like all-consuming prayers. That is not just praying that, even forget about, wanting things for the ego. It's not even praying, wanting things for the growth of the soul. It's even beyond that. It's what I really find like most hard-hitting about these prayers is it's a prayer to die. It's a prayer to abolish oneself. It's a prayer to burn in love. So it's really like a proactive abolition of the ego. So what I love the most about this book is its yearning to dissolve. And one feels it so palpably in this book. Although my whole being is in theory consecrated to thee, O sublime Master, who art the life, the light, and the love in all things. So who is the divine? The mother is calling the divine the life, the light, and the love in all things. I have this bowl of pomegranate in my hands. What is the divine in this bowl of pomegranate? The one that brings the life in this bowl of pomegranates. And what is the life in the bowl of pomegranates? The beauty of the color red. Almost each and every piece of the fruit pomegranate is full of life. Have you ever wondered that food is actually nothing but fuel for the body? And God could have also been like, okay, these are human beings. They have to have fuel in their body. Twice a day, they can go to a petrol pump, fill petrol and come back and lead their life as usual. God is like, no. Everything that we eat, every fruit that the God has blessed us with is actually full of life. It is full of color. If you look at this one glass, we have, a distinction between living beings and non-living beings. And our mechanical mind classifies a glass as a non-living being. But does that mean this glass does not have life? You look at this glass, how beautiful it is, with these colors and form and texture and beauty. So, the divine is the one that brings life to everything, color to everything, texture to everything, movement to everything. And it is the divine delight which is expressing itself through the life energy. When you look at a bird or a swan or a monkey or a cat or a dog, there is the life energy which is moving and manifesting through each of these forms. So the divine is the one who is the life. But life is not enough. There is also the light. The light and the love in all things. everything exists because behind it is the divine light. You may ask, there are people who are very rude or who are very unethical, but even behind them there is light. And it is because this light exists that we can have faith that thy creation cannot die. So there is a light that is sustaining everything. When you concentrate and meditate in the center of your chest, you will often perceive and notice that there is a light. This light is not a mere imagination or a visualization. It is a real, palpable, tangible aspect. Because light exists, so all of us exist. This flame that we light on every Deepavali, every Diya, the flame that we light in the temples, in the sacred spaces in our houses, is nothing but a symbol of that light which is behind all creation. And why that light is behind all creation? Because the divine is all luminous. The divine is the light without a shadow. It is when that light has to pass through layers and layers of darkness and ignorance and falsehood that it begins to generate a shadow. But in its essence, it is all luminous, it is all light. So on one hand is the luminous presence of the divine. On the other hand is the joy of life, the delight of life, the soma of life. And sustaining it all is the vibration of love. Now, love is not the I love you. Because till the time there is I and you, there is no love. Because what happens in love is there is no I, there is no you. There is that sense of oneness. So love is not romance. Love is also not affection. It is not a sentimental attachment. It is not a familial bonding. Love is a profound vibration that has created all of creation. That is love. So we must never use the word love very lightly. It's a very sacred word. It is divine love. So Mother is saying, although my whole being, and look at her humility. She's saying, although my entire being is in theory consecrated to thee, O Sublime Master. You know, we all think that we are very sincere, we are very consecrated to the divine. And Mother is happy to accept that her surface nature, this is Mother writing from her surface nature, that it is only in theory it is consecrated to thee. In reality, there are many gaps. It's like Mother says, only the very sincere people are aware that they are insincere. The insincere people usually think that they are very sincere. So, it's actually a positive thing. If you struggle with self-doubt, it's a positive thing that only the very sincere people, they're aware. You know, many times in our daily life, we will exaggerate something or white lies, small little lies we will say. It's only if we are very sincere that at the end of the day, it'll prick us. It'll not let us settle. Otherwise, we can justify our reactions in life saying that, oh, but this person said this person said that. Look at this other person's ego. Look at this other person's shadow. It's only when we are very sincere that it is not matter what is the other person's shadow. One holds the other people with immense amount of benefit of doubt and compassion. One holds oneself with honesty without self-judgment. That's another very important point. To be sincere doesn't mean that one starts beating oneself up. That's not what is to be done. So let me read this and then we will revisit. Although my whole being is in theory consecrated to thee, O sublime Master, who art the life, the light, the love in all things, I still find it hard to carry out this consecration in detail. I still find it very hard. And I think when she's saying this, she's sort of saying it on behalf of all of us, that we all still find it very difficult to carry out this consecration in detail. Even if one has made big choices in one's life, I am not going to be serving a mere money-making machinery. I'm going to be serving something ethical, something that contributes to humanity, to society, to nation. Even as one has taken good and big decisions in one life, it is still very difficult to consecrate in detail, because it is very easy to fall back into old habits, into inertia. It has taken me several weeks to learn that the reason for this written meditation, its justification, lies in the very fact of addressing it daily to thee. When one writes something down, we all have an aspiration to consecrate our lives to the divine. But when we write it down, we give it more concreteness, we give it more power, we make things more tangible. And when one does it daily, when one does it regularly, one begins to create an energetic imprint in one's body, in one's being. And by regularly doing it and by writing one's prayer down, it becomes more tangible, more real. And what becomes more tangible, more real is one's connection with the divine. That is what is becoming more tangible, more real. It is not what is becoming more real is either my own limitations or my wants and desires that I want the divine to grant me. And these could be even nobler aspirations. Like, I want to progress on the spiritual path. But oftentimes we also get too hung onto this or that form of spiritual progress. We think getting up at 5 a.m. is walking on the spiritual path. Then forget about connection with the divine. Then the aim that becomes more significant to us is getting up at 5 a.m. Getting up at 5 a.m., if it's a means to connection with the divine, it is great. But by and of itself, it's simply an instrument, it's a means. So prayer really brings back attention to the core aspiration, to the core prayer. And by writing it down and by doing it regularly, it makes the energetic imprint deeper. In this way, I shall put into material shape each day a little of the conversation I have so often with thee. I shall make my confession to thee as well as it may be, not because I can tell thee anything, for thou art thyself everything, but our artificial and exterior way of seeing and understanding is, if it may be so said, foreign to thee, opposed to thy nature. So on one hand, the mother is acknowledging, what can I tell God, In a certain sense, God knows us better than, we know ourselves. We may not know parts of our being, parts of our subconscious, parts of our inner being, inner vitality. But God is like a CCTV camera that can see everything. It can see the consciousness behind things. We can lie to ourselves, but The soul cannot lie to itself, no? So on one hand, she's acknowledging, what can I tell? Even as all of us write prayers to the divine, what can we tell the divine? What confession can we really make? The divine already knows everything. But still one makes that confession. Still one writes to the divine, so that one's surface nature, one's exterior personality begins to see and understand things more rightly. And again she says, in this way I shall put into material shape the little conversation I so often have with thee. So one is that some of us, may not be at that stage where we are having a conversation with the divine. Then writing can become a means of beginning to develop a relationship with the divine and to have a conversation with the divine. Others, some of us, may be feeling that, I anyway talk to the divine. Why do I need to write? At all points in time before going to sleep, I talk to the divine. I am constantly having an inner dialogue within myself with Krishna, with the divine. Why do I need to write it down? The thing is, when one writes it down, one makes it more material, more concrete, more tangible, more real for the outer being and also for the subconscious parts of who we are. So there are parts of us which are super conscient, which belong to the higher consciousness. And then there are parts of us which is reasonable, which is rational. And then there are parts of us which is subconscient. We are half aware of it, we are half not aware of it. It's like even after mentally knowing things, many times we react, and it comes instantaneously even before we think about it. Where does it come from? It comes from the subconscious, which is storing a whole lot of things. Now, if we have to change things in the subconscious, we need to repeat, because it's like the body learns through repetition. It's like piano or swimming or driving cannot just be mentally learned or through a one-off lesson. It has to be practiced regularly. So if we want to change things in our subconscious, it is very important to give it a material, concrete shape and to repeat it so that it really imprints in our subconscious and in our surface personality. Still, by turning towards thee, by immersing myself in thy light at the moment when I consider these things little by little, I shall see them more like what they really are. Until the day when, having made myself one in identity with thee, I shall no more have anything to say to thee, for then I shall be thou. How beautifully she says this thing. So until the day, I become one with the divine, when there is no difference between the divine and myself, by turning towards thee, by immersing myself in thy light at the moment when I consider these things, little by little I shall see them more like what they really are. So through prayer, through writing down the prayer, one really begins to see things like they are. Otherwise, what begins to happen is a thought vibration enters our being and we identify with that thought vibration. A vital impetus, energy, force enters our being and we identify with that. Now, the first step towards transformation on the path of yoga is to be able to see things clearly, which is why rishis are known as seers. Of course, seers of a higher reality, the one who listen to the shruti, listen to the truth. But also, it begins with that higher seeing, begins with First, just seeing things for what they are. And in order to see things for what they are, it's very important that one is not identifying. So usually one is identified with one's identity. Oh, this happened to me, that happened to me. So one perceives and narrates one's emotions around an ego-based identity. Whereas emotions and feelings are nothing but vital forces that comes and grips holds of our consciousness. It is like in Hindi we say, gussa aa raha hai. You don't say, I am angry. It's like anger is entering inside my consciousness, not that I am anger. So what writing down very concretely these prayers do is it makes you see things as they are. It makes your aspiration of the soul more and more intensified. This is the goal that I would reach. For this victory, all my efforts will tend. More and more I aspire for the day when I can no longer say I, for I shall be thou. And this particular line is the exact aim for prayers and meditations. If you're interested in this, because this diary, I'm again forewarning you, is a very hard-hitting diary. It's a proactive dissolution of the ego. It's like you remember the diagram Mother made of yoga, in which you are at the bottom, the divine is up there, and the usual life is like a zigzag line between these 2 points. And yoga is the direct straight line. So, through several births and rebirths and circumstances and sufferings and all kinds of events, eventually our ego will dissolve and we will become perfect instruments for Krishna to play his flute. We will become the divine, we will become the expressions of the divine, we will embody our soul in its fullness through all the faculties, whether it is the fully developed faculty of the mind, of the heart, of the emotions, of the energies of the body. It will happen for each and every one of us. The only choice is yoga is to proactively do it. Ordinary life is to passively do it. So even as one passively sits with one's ambitions, with one's desires, with one's ego's hiccups and grudges and all the rest of it, it will still happen. What prayers and meditations do, it's like fire. Prayers and meditations, even though the book color is blue in color, no, so it feels very peaceful. It's actually a book of fire. It's real pure fire that burns your ego. So if you're ready to delight in the burning of your own ego, then this book is really for you. For then that I is no longer there. But if the attachment to I is still very high, then this book is really not for you. It is really not for anybody who still feels, no, I am very important and that I is still very, very important. And I like to preserve that I. And the dissolution of the I does not mean a chaos. It does not mean that you will be left without a center in this world and all kinds of forces will come and intrude and enter inside of you. No, the dissolution of the I means Krishna will himself come and lead your entire life and being. The divine himself or herself becomes the leader of the being. But of course, there is a transition time when the ego is dying and the new personality has not emerged. And in that process is the real adventure. And that is why Mother says that, I invite people who are up for an adventure. She says yoga has 2 parts to it, peace and progress. Majority of the people who come to yoga, they come for peace. there's so much of tensions in life, and by the time one reaches midlife, enough number of people have betrayed me, have betrayed my trust, and I'm unable to forgive them, and this bitterness of life, I just want some peace. Oh yoga, oh meditation. This diary brings that, but more than that, what it brings is an impetus towards progress. How can I give myself? How can I serve myself? How can I dissolve? And how can I simply be an instrument of the divine service? It doesn't matter whether I get name, fame, money, what is my position into this thing, whether I get credit in it or not credit in it. All the rest of it is just put outside. How can I be an instrument? The dissolution of the I is the very aim of this book. How many times a day still I act without my action being consecrated to thee? I at once become aware of it by an indefinable uneasiness, which is translated in the sensibility of my body by a pang in the heart. So if you begin to really feel on the path of yoga a certain uneasiness, even if, say, nobody notices, let us say I did something which was dishonest and the other person did not notice it, nothing. But at the end of the day, if that makes you feel uncomfortable, that means you're ready for this book. Let us say nobody else discovers what has been done, but you in your heart, you feel, and it could be something very, very simple, something that you said out of anger. And you are able to see that's not fully true. I'm exaggerating and I'm blaming the other person more. I'm taking more benefit of doubt and I'm not giving it to the other person. And it is making you feel uncomfortable. Even if the other person is saying, yeah, okay, all your friends are empathizing with you. But you know in the heart of your hearts there's something. I'm not saying it's entirely dishonest, but you feel that there is a grain of dishonesty in it. Right? Then you're ready for this book because you will feel that uneasiness as a pang in your heart. I then make my action objective to myself, and it seems to me ridiculous, childish, or blameworthy. I deplore it. For a moment, I'm sad until I dive into thee, and there losing myself with a child's confidence, await from thee the inspiration and strength needed to set right the error in me and around me, two things that are one. For I have now a constant and precise perception of the universal unity, determining an absolute interdependence of all actions. So on one hand, I said this diary is for you if you are really ready for it, that you feel a certain sense of discomfort. But at the same time, this diary is the solution to that discomfort. Because oftentimes one of the biggest, if I can say so, mistake that sincere seekers make on the path of yoga. They're so sincere that they develop self-doubt. And they become more and more powerless through that self-doubt. And that is a big mistake. We are talking about a yoga where Sri Aurobindo and the mother are asking us to be hero warriors. They're really asking us to bring back money from the hands of the Asuric forces. So they want us to be confident and have faith and walk like hero warriors on the path. If we become too doubtful of ourselves and we don't have confidence in ourselves any longer, that is not the way to do sadhana. That is in fact a derailment on the path. So yes, as you start walking the spiritual path, it will make you uncomfortable because now you know your own hypocrisies. Now you know that, this little movement in me came from jealousy. Even if nobody noticed it, you know in the heart of your hearts, this has happened out of jealousy. And it's not about defending yourself to the others. It's about being honest to yourself. But the key in this book is to go beyond, once you see this and then you feel, oh, how ridiculous, how can I feel jealous, how can I be so childish, this is blameworthy. How do you go beyond that deplorement and await for the divine, the inspiration and the strength needed to set right the error in me and around me? So this book is full of that inspiration and that strength which is needed. For I now have a constant and precise perception of the universal unity determining an absolute interdependence of all actions. You really see in her diary a roadmap for us ordinary seekers to open ourselves to Yoga Shakti, to really progress on the path of sadhana. Out of my own experience of reading prayers and meditations, what I found the most hitting thing about prayers and meditation is that it pierces through your ego and brings you in touch with your soul. No excuses, no distractions. It hits the target where it needs to hit. So I welcome you on board to start every single week of your with prayers and meditation, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. IST. We will be meditatively, contemplatively reading prayers and meditations and spending a little bit of time also painting or journaling about something that got inspired in us through the particular diary entry, through the particular prayer that we read. An extremely special book. We welcome you on board.